You're listening to
They're gonna call it a hard foul. They're gonna call it a hard foul.
All right, we're back with another episode of Hot Follow. As always, I am Jim Quigley with my brother that my parents didn't want, Michael. I hope everyone is. I mean, I wouldn't call it nice, but facts are what facts are, and you can't let that get in the way of the truth. So here we are, another episode. We haven't talked to you in a while because not really much has happened outside of some summer league action that some people like to read a lot into. I, for one, don't really see the value in spending too much time into a bunch of guys that aren't going to be here. But with that,
come on, Jordan Walsh got ejected from a game.
Oh yeah,
we should spend a whole pod on it.
Non-guaranteed contract, Jordan Walsh. But we do have a special guest, a friend of the pod. I think we can say now the second time we've had him, from the Ringer, the much esteemed Michael Pina. Michael, welcome. Great to have you back.
Guys, this is a pleasure. Fastly becoming an annual tradition, and it's my honor to be here.
You're the first one that ever said that, so we greatly appreciate it. Mikey, I'd let you kind of take it away with the initial questions for Michael, and we can go from there.
Yeah, and we're brought to you by the Fans First Sports Network. And
that's right.
Again, Michael, thank you for being on the show.
Mike, I just want to interrupt you. So now, Mike, since the last time you've been on, we do work for a network now. And we actually have ads, so that means we've made it. I think that's
definitely great sign.
When you get ads, you make it. All right, go ahead, Mike. I think Mike froze. So I'll just step in for him. Mike, you wrote a great column early in the offseason on the Celtics that really kind of, I think encapsulates where they are, which is a real unfortunate situation. Everyone knows the backstory with Tatum and the injury and getting under the luxury cap. You also, went on the Zach Lowe's podcast just recently. You talked about the levels and the tiers of the different teams, and you have the Celtics in a category of their own, which is a gap year or a very shitty gap year. I forget exactly how you worded it, but
the gap year from hell.
The gap year from hell. And so is this from a Celtics fan perspective, what should our expectations be, you think, for a season like this? Should we be looking for Jaylen Brown to become like a 1A or possibly a 1A? Or is this just going to be a complete lost season where you think they're going to shelve their better players and we're looking at it just firmly in the lottery?
I think expectations for this season should be as low as possible. Not to sugarcoat anything. I think that if you break it down from just the basic, just look at the roster, look at the level of talent that is no longer available and no longer active. I mean, starting with Jason Tatum, multiple-time first-team All-NBA player who fits in every lineup, who makes every one of his teammates their life easier, who is like a 30-point-per-game scorer when he wants to be, who rebounds, passes, like all that, defends every position. No longer have him, so he's out of the picture. Drew Holiday, one of the better defensive guards in NBA history, who is a solid three-point shooter, who can handle the ball and just be, I mean, he was the missing piece on 2 championship teams. Like, that's really all you need to say about him. He's no longer available. Kristaps Porzingis, the much sought after and just a stretch 5 who spaces the floor, protects the rim. He's the unicorn who kind of made the Celtics invincible when he was 100% healthy and available to play. He's no longer here. And I guess you look at everyone.
Cornette and Horford too, right?
Cornette and Horford, yes, exactly. Yeah. I think the front court is the number one thing, the number one tell for me that they are not serious about winning basketball games this season. This is arguably, shout out to the Charlotte Hornets. I think the Hornets have a say in this, but this is arguably the worst front court in the entire NBA
The
right
Warriors might be there if they don't get Horford too, right? Wouldn't they kind of?
They could be, but I would
Yeah.
include Draymond Green in that.
Yeah,
I would say he's a part of
that's
their
true.
front court, and he's
Yeah.
way better than everyone in Boston right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know who's going to be the starting center on opening night. I don't think they do either at this point. I don't know what their front court rotation, how that will shape up. So, you look at, they'll be able to, they sign 3-point shooters. They will play, I think, the same style offensively, or at least try to, that they have over the past couple of years under Joe Mazzulla. Defensively, it will be an absolute train wreck, I think. And I mean, it's just, I guess, like addressing one of your questions from before about Jaylen Brown being a 1A potentially. Like, I love Jaylen Brown as a player. I think he's meant a lot to the Celtics organization. I just don't see that at all. I think he's going to be totally out of his element and in a role that he's completely unfamiliar with, that he's never been asked to fill before in his entire career. He's not the give him the ball and have him set up teammates and balance scoring and playmaking type of all-star that you see around the league. That's just not who he is, and that's perfectly fine. And I think that Derek White, who is beloved for a lot of valid reasons, one of the better three-point shooters in basketball, one of the better defenders at his position, he will be extended and stretched in ways that I don't think Boston ever intended to kind of expand his responsibilities. So, like, it's nothing against those guys. They were just brought in to do different things, and it's just unfair to them to ask them to, up their scoring, up their playmaking, up their ball handling, up their usage to levels that just don't feel sustainable at all to me. So yeah, it should be a bad season, and I don't even think that Jaylen Brown and Derek White will be asked to like play a ton. I don't see like the point when you're not going for a I know it sounds really like fatalistic to say this, but if you have 0% chance at winning a championship, and this is the year when you can actually take a step back, get a lottery pick. We saw what has happened in the lottery the last 2 years, where teams jump from 9 and 10 with the Hawks and the Mavericks. Just the way that the lottery odds have flattened out, it is to your benefit to get into the lottery, and obviously to your benefit to have the highest odds possible still for a team like the Celtics. So I think that they will be bad. They'll be motivated to be bad. And if you look at the tea leaves and read them, that's what they want.
Yeah, no, it feels that way. I guess what, Mike, is a little bit concerning to me is that the trades they made were clearly financial, and I understand the owners to get below the second apron, especially the circumstances that surround Tatum. I think if you went into the season with a healthy Tatum, you're probably managing this roster quite a bit differently. At least I hope.
Definitely, without a doubt.
And so I get it. Like, from that perspective, what bothers me is I don't feel like any of these moves have been basketball moves, with the exception of signing, Gaza to take a shot at it, and he's pronouncing Minot, the back end of the Timberwolves bench against those.
Josh Minot, yeah,
Josh Minot. Those are kind of your let's see what we got here. There's some talent, and there are positions that are premium, and we'll roll with that. Simons is not a basketball trade. That is purely financial trade. You get a guy that has some offensive ability, but he fits none of the characteristics the Celtics front office has sought, at least from my perspective, for the last decade. A one-way player. The only other time they did this was Isaiah Thomas, and that was a completely different situation, completely different team. And then, Niang's just a journeyman that, maybe can help a contender, maybe not, whatever. And obviously they're going to try to offload those guys. But even when you hear about them trying to offload them, it sounds more like a salary down. And here's my concern. You keep hearing from Celtics beat reporters, whether it's Forsberger or Jay King or it's B-Rob, and they keep mentioning, that this could be a 2-season project. project where they're going to try to be underneath that luxury tax for 2 seasons so they can not have any of those repeated tax penalties. And I just sit here and I think, well, okay, it's not my money. I don't really give a shit about the repeater tax as a fan. And you just spent $6 billion on the team. You tell me you can't afford to pay a bit more to have a really good team, if not this season, next season, where you have Tatum and Brown in their prime on Supermax contracts. Are we pushing this out for 3 years? This season, next, and then we're really looking at 28 to be a contender again. And if that's the plan, I am not just disappointed, I'm pissed because that doesn't line up with the guys you have, even if Tatum's coming back from an injury. And I don't know if you're hearing that, Michael, but do I have reason to be concerned? And am I wrong to be concerned? I guess is what I'm asking you.
I think that it's a little too early to know whether or not their intention is to duck the luxury tax for 2 seasons in a row. I know that I'll start by just saying that it's not my money either. I think that if you're not willing to spend as much as possible when you have a team that can win a championship, then you shouldn't own an NBA team. If you have a team that cannot win an NBA championship, it's a little bit of a different story with regards to how much money makes sense to spend, as we've seen with an organization like the Phoenix Suns, and just it's just reckless spending that'll actually impair your ability to build a championship contender someday, because there are so many basketball related penalties that come into the picture when you cross the first and the second apron. When you're talking about the luxury tax, again, it's not my money, but the luxury tax bill, because they are a repeater team, as of right now, just the luxury tax bill is $70.7 million. So if you hear that and it's like, it is ludicrous, just like objectively, to spend that much money on a team that, in my opinion, as I said earlier, could be like really, really, really bad this year.
Yeah.
So right there, like it just doesn't make sense to do it. And if this is an opportunity for you to kind of rev things up and get back into the tax when you're ready, when Tatum is healthy and you still have Jaylen Brown in his prime and you have not traded Derek White yet, and so it seems like he is still a part of your short-term future. And we'll see what happens with whatever draft pick that they get and whether or not they're able to take that draft pick in the offseason, and either, if it's, a top 3 pick, then that changes everything. And if it's a valuable lottery pick that you're willing to attach to something and then go after whatever disgruntled superstar or whoever's out there who's like, I've had enough of this. That also is just it's a calculus changing move. So there's just like so much that can happen between now and 2 years, let alone now and a year from today, or even just the beginning of next offseason, to kind of chart out what their plan is. But I would say, like, my expectation, knowing nothing really, is that they will duck the luxury tax this season. It just kind of makes sense to do so. And they're, I believe, $17.5 million over the tax. And if you just were to combine Sam Hauser and George Niang's contracts, you can get under the luxury tax. It's not that complicated. If you were able to, I like a team like the Brooklyn Nets, if they were willing to take those 2 salaries for a couple seconds or something, future seconds, I think that's good business for everyone involved. It would be painful for Celtics fans to hear that, because Hauser is a really good player on a really good contract. Maybe they don't do that. Maybe they're able to dump Anthony Simons mid-season before next July 1st, 2026, and get into the tax that way. That's another possibility. A lot of teams will have cap space. More teams will have cap space, I should say, by then. But yeah, the 2 year thing is a little iffier, and that's a little bit a tougher pill to swallow, I would say, if I were like a diehard fan who doesn't understand, or I guess like just even just as a general basketball NBA fan who doesn't want to see a organization hamper a great player's prime. Like it's a basketball crime for the Denver Nuggets to be pinching pennies when they have Nikola Jokic. And Tatum is not Nikola Jokic, but it's still, he's a great player in his prime. And for you to kind of take a step back in any way, shape, or form throughout his prime would be really a tough pill to swallow, particularly in an Eastern Conference that's like, uh,
It's not good.
not competitive, to be honest with you, and won't be. I don't know. We'll see. Again, everything can change in the NBA overnight, but it doesn't seem like there's anyone obstructing the Boston Celtics from climbing back into title contention in the East. So I hope this is a long-winded way of answering your question, but in the short term, I would just expect them to continue to cut salary because it just getting in their heads with it as an organization from a business sense when you don't have a chance to win a championship or make a playoff run or do anything of substance, just like it makes sense to get under the tax when you look at how much it costs to be in it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I guess I think for me, it's just anytime you have new ownership, and especially when they spend money like this, and we don't know him. All we know about Bill Chisholm is that he's a private equity guy. He has no others, he's not an owner in any other sport, so there's no really anything to fall back on. And I just, the first thing they do is, and I get it, there's different rules. The CBA sucks. It's changed everything. It's to cut spending. And then I start hearing the beat reporters, and the beat reporters are getting that from somewhere, especially when they're all saying it at the same time. And they're all saying the same thing. It feels to me that someone in the organization is saying, we want to get under this for 2 years. And to me, that just, my alarm goes off a little bit on, okay, well, what probably makes most sense from a basketball standpoint is just let the Simon contract play out, let him walk, and that's an expiring contract. Maybe if there isn't a good basketball deal on the table, but if we just start to see money moves, I guess I get a little nervous. The great thing about being a Celtics fan over the last, 15, 20 years is that every season's been kind of worth something. There's been a reason to watch. And this season, there isn't going to be a lot of reasons to watch, which is incredibly disappointing. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to become the Phoenix Suns, like you mentioned earlier. I want to be a team that's always worth, kind of watching. And Mikey, it's great to have you back. Just like my parents didn't watch you, the Zoom didn't either.
Oh, good. So yeah, some technical difficulties, and my brother's a fucking asshole. I'm jumping in midstream here, and I'll just say this: when I look at the Celtics off season here, I've been unimpressed. I take a look at the Porzingis move in particular, and I've always been wondering, and Michael, maybe you can help me understand this better. Why couldn't they hold on to him to the trade deadline? Why rush that move where he was so good at the end of the season last year? If he plays like that and they're making financial decisions, why wouldn't you want to move him when he has value? I mean, I feel like they got zero value back in that trade, obviously, and it's just hard to swallow trades that are made just for financial purposes where there's really no basketball reason to these moves.
Yeah, I think I would say with the Porzingis one, you cut salary, which we were talking about the luxury tax repeater bill, and kind of the just if you're not going to be a winner, then cutting salary makes sense for you as an organization. And the other thing is you don't know, there's a lot of risk that would be involved in holding on to Porzingis, I think, because yeah, there's a chance that he plays great and his value goes up, and then there are teams out there that want him. But are you able to find a deal where you're getting not only, and I should say, like, it's a lot easier to make these trades during the off season than in season, particularly in this CBA where a team like this was a 3-team trade that included the Brooklyn Nets, which was the only one of the only teams that actually had cap space that allowed some flexibility there. But are you able to get a piece who is on an expiring contract, for example, or like why would it? Are there teams out there that need a center that are willing to take KP on an expiring, that have the salary to send back that would also make sense for Boston? And if Boston still had KP's salary, are they over the first apron? Are they well, they would be actually over the first apron almost definitely, and potentially over the second apron as well, which makes it even harder for them to make trades in season. So yeah, it's not a basketball move straight up. Like, obviously not. It is a financial move, and it is, in my opinion, it was smart for Boston to do that trade and how they did it. I thought that was like a wise, I guess, like, prudent move. And the Simons Drew Holiday trade was like a kind of a no-brainer in basketball, not in basketball terms, but in financial terms. It was just an absolute no-brainer for them to get off Drew Holiday's contract, take back an expiring, get a guy who's 10 years younger. Who, I mean, I like Simons as a player, frankly. He's not as good as Drew Holiday is, but I like him as a player. You have however many months he's going to be on the team. Maybe his defense comes around miraculously in a competitive environment. Probably not, but I thought that was just like a absolute no-brainer trade. And even though the initial reports of Boston getting second-round picks, which absolutely made no sense, it proved not to be accurate, I thought that was a really smart trade.
So what is your over?
Yeah, it was. I think for me, and then we can do the over-under, Tim. When I look at the Holiday trade, I go back to why did they extend him in the offseason? I never understood the purpose of that extension, but
the Holiday extension.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, the Holiday extension happened shortly before the 2024 championship run. Yep. And I think that the rationale there is we want this guy to be locked in, super focused on basketball, not worried about the offseason and where he's going to be playing next year or what his contract situation is. And when that contract was signed, it was a little, eyebrow raising given his age and given the I guess just the financial amount of it. It was a big contract. I think it obviously worked out. You do that extension 100 times out of 100 if you are winning a championship because of it. And who knows? Like, I can't go back and say if he didn't sign it, he would have played exactly the same. I don't know. No one does. Mm-hmm. But I thought that was the rationale from Boston's point of view. And I'll also say Boston did not know, no one knew when they did that extension that Jason Tatum was going to rupture his Achilles tendon. The plan was for them to contend for a title last year, contend for a title this year, and they were heavy favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. Everyone picked them to go to the NBA Finals again after last year's run this year. So from that sense, like, that extension made it was another kind of a no-brainer. It's really hard to quibble with at the time. Today, you could definitely go back and say, look back with hindsight's a little bit 2020 for sure. But knowing that Boston lost and that Jason Tatum suffered a debilitating injury that he'll miss probably all of next season with. But I hope that answered your question. I think that extension was fair.
Yeah, and I'm sure
sort of like the all-in mentality. Yeah,
I'm sure when they were making the trade too for Holiday, there were back channels to the agent, and Holiday said he wanted to come here, so maybe they would have even, you get here, we'll talk about an extension. I know you're not supposed to do those things, but I'm sure those things happen too. um, so the so what is your, I know Vegas has it like 42 or 41 and a half or 43 wins for, let's put the over under at 38 and a half wins for the Celtics. I'm under that number at this point. I think they're really going to suck. And it's depressing me, but where are you, Michael?
Uh, I am definitely under that. I look around and I look at some teams in the East. The East is really bad, but I look at some teams that could be motivated to
Yeah.
win that are bad. That like this is probably just like a crazy statement that will come back to bite me, but I look at a team like the Charlotte Hornets and I'm like, man, if everything goes right for the Charlotte Hornets and they like swing a trade one of their guards for a big, like who knows with that team? They could make a run to the play and LaMelo Ball stays healthy, Brandon Miller takes a jump.
Miller.
Yeah. They have some intriguing talent. Like who knows? So it's
Some
like
of
a
the worst luck in the NBA on that team. Like,
Sure.
I mean, Mark Williams was talented. He really was. He just couldn't play. They've drafted well, just guys who get hurt all the time.
Yeah. So I mean, they're. I think that they're clearly got a long runway to go before they're like a respectable competitive team. But that's kind of the class that I don't think there's like a huge gap between the Boston Celtics and the Charlotte Hornets. And frankly, like if I was looking at comparing the entire rosters, I might take Charlotte. I don't know. Like I don't know.
Yeah, it's a sad situation. I mean, even Indiana, who you had in that gap year from hell, I think they have more motivation to win.
They
Have
will
to go
be
to
better.
game sevens to the finals, and
Yes.
which this is a good segue because we talked Indiana for a second, we talked Hornets for the second. Your most recent column has interesting landing places. You know, based on I think just your own thoughts. I don't know if you have any insider info, but for Simmons and Horford, who obviously have Celtics related news with them or ties. So, you had Simmons going to the Pacers, which was interesting to me, and I'd be happy with because I do not want him on the Celtics. I don't even think the guy likes basketball. I just think he likes getting a paycheck at this point. He has not improved his game at all. I cannot stand Ben Simmons. I will be miserable, even more miserable if he's on the Celtics. And then you had Al Horford going to the Hornets, which, I never crossed my mind. It seems unlikely, but you made an intriguing case on why it should happen.
Yeah, this is just me pie in the sky. It's like late July. There's absolutely nothing going on, and my editor's like, "Can you write something?" And I'm just trying to be interesting. Like, to be honest, yeah, I think like the Ben Simmons one. For the record, it would not surprise me, and would be totally just if he just walked away from the NBA and never played again. That's almost what I'm expecting. I kind of second a lot of what you said, Jim, just about him not improving and actually getting worse in almost every stop. There's physical health there, issues with his back that have kind of plagued him. And he's, when he was in Brooklyn, which is like my neighborhood, there's like no back to backs. So it's like his body is kind of breaking down a little bit. Had some flashes, but last year with the Clippers, but really nothing like the Ben Simmons who was making all-star teams and looking like Magic Johnson for earlier in his career. I think that just if you're the Indiana Pacers and you're not really serious about, or not, I shouldn't say not serious about, but you have very little, if any, chance of doing anything of substance in the playoffs and even making the playoffs. Like, how could it hurt to bring him in and just be like, hey, be Halliburton for us, and if we're bad, we're bad. It's okay. Who cares? We're getting Tyrese Halliburton back the next season. We've got the core that took us to Game 7 of the Finals. They're going to be back, except for Miles Turner, the following year, and it's kind of a no harm, no foul signing. I think stylistically, it makes sense. Al Horford, he's almost definitely going to sign with the Golden State Warriors. I'd be surprised if he didn't, and I think that that is a wonderful basketball fit for him and more importantly for the Warriors. I think they need exactly that skill set, his size. I don't need to explain Al Horford to you guys
No.
and his value. He's a professional's professional, and one of the rare two-way bigs who can actually space the floor, and switch a little bit at his age, which is remarkable. The reason I had him linked to the Charlotte Hornets again was mostly my own boredom and trying to find a different team besides the Warriors. And I would be very, very surprised if he signed with the Charlotte Hornets because as much as I was complimenting them before about the talent on that roster, they have absolutely no chance of doing anything in the short term. And if I was him, even though I already have a ring, I would still want to be playing. If I'm going to play in the NBA, I could get, 10 extra $1 million or whatever it is that the Hornets would be able to pay me versus the Warriors. That's cool. But I would still want to be playing. I would still want to be relevant. That's just me, and I'm sure he's the same way. And playing in Golden State with Jimmy Butler, with Steph Curry, with Draymond Green, I think that team, and however else they build it, they only have 9 guys under contract right now because of the Jonathan Kuminga kind of fiasco. But I think that they can be pretty competitive if everything breaks right for them, and they could go on a deep playoff run. The West is a bloodbath, but they're relevant. They're the Golden State Warriors. They have Steph Curry, so that's the team I think he will end up on.
Yeah,
he's a great fit there.
Is it the reason they haven't signed him yet? Is it a sequencing thing, like contract wise, or waiting for Kuminga to, or is he is he thinking about retirement?
No, I think that they have to resolve what's going on with Jonathan Kuminga for a variety of reasons. There's a lot of different permutations with his contract, and one is like if we were to sign and trade him, we would be hard capped at the first apron, and then we don't know how many players we're getting back for that and what they make and how much money can we offer Horford. We don't know, so you can't just sign Horford before you take care of Kuminga because it kind of would limit your options with him.
Gotcha. Sure.
Mike, I have a question about a former Celtic and another free agent. Is there any rumors or do you have any insight on where you think Amir Coffey would end up? That was a guy that when I saw he wasn't signed yet, I thought would fit in great with Boston as another wing. And then a guy that doesn't fit with Boston, but if he's healthy can play, Malcolm Brogdon is still kind of lingering out there. Do you have any ideas on where those guys should go?
You're right. Malcolm Brogdon does not fit with the Boston Celtics, and I don't think he wants to come back to Boston. And I don't think that relationship has been mended in any way, shape, or form. I don't know. Like I think Malcolm Brogdon's health issues that have kind of plagued him throughout his entire career are an issue right now, and teams don't want to make a commitment to him. Or even give him a roster spot, apparently, which is a little silly to me. I think he's still a really good player when healthy. He didn't really play last year, but he was on the Washington Wizards, and they weren't really trying to win basketball games. Amir Coffey, I like him. He's not a needle mover, but I like him. Couldn't get off the bench in the first round last year against the Denver Nuggets. Couldn't really crack the Clippers rotation, but I think he's very good for what he is, which is a 3-point shooting wing who can play a little bit of defense, good size. Again, like for the Celtics, they have one empty roster spot right now. We'll see what they do with Jordan Walsh, who is, I believe, non-guaranteed, and Keita is also non-guaranteed, but you kind of you don't really have a center.
That would be shocking. Yeah.
So it's like we were talking before about just the repeater tax penalties, and I think that they are not in the mindset of adding salary, even if it is a veteran minimum, because at that dollar amount, whatever it is, you multiply it exponentially, and it just doesn't like a $2 million player would add, I don't even, 9, $10 million to your bill. It's like it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. So unfortunately, I don't think that he would work or function in Boston the way that he would if he was backing up Jason Tatum, for example. That would make a lot more sense.
I know we're short on time here, Mike. Do you
Yeah.
got time for three random questions that we can throw at you, like kind of
Sure.
lightning, lightning? I'll ask the first one. I know you're deep down, your roots are with being a Celtics fan. So, who would be your all-time Celtics starting five that have never won a championship or never been an All-Star? Just lovable
Oh my
guys
God.
that you have on your mind. So, like for me, it would be like Vitaly Potapako because I had a interaction with him at a bar before. Dino Raja because he used to rip cigs. John Bagley because he looked like he played at the Y. Rick Fox because Rick Pitino was an idiot and let him go. And then we'll throw in Avery Bradley because I love Avery Bradley. So that would be my five. I don't know if you have like a random five.
No love for Mark Blunt.
No, Rob. Mikey would definitely pick Ricky Davis, but
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Wow, what a question. I mean, Dana Barros technically made an all-star team, so
not as a Celtic though. So that could work.
that's
As a
true. Okay.
Sixer.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Also, he's on my squad. Uh, I mean, Marcus Smart was never an all-star, right?
Never knows.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
So that's the first guy off the top of my head right there. I mean, Avery Bradley was a really good shout. Not gonna lie, I like that one. Trying to go through my childhood was, it was really depressing. There was no like,
Is it Nervous Purvis Ellison at center?
oh God.
Eric Montross.
Jared Sullinger?
Yeah, this is like yeah, like
Eric Riley?
Greg Steamsma, the next
There you go.
Yeah.
the next Bill Russell. Oh man, I named a few. I can't.
I mean, Aaron Baines looked amazing naked in the locker room, according to Tommy Heinsohn.
Well, you don't have to answer it all now, but I did give you an idea for your next column that you can.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I have a random player question too. I think it might be a little bit easier. So I'm going to the Red Sox on Friday night, and I wanted to get a jersey, so I made one, and it was Izzy Alcantara. He's the guy who kicked the catcher in the face when he got hit with the baseball.
Yeah.
So if you were to buy like a random jersey, any sport, I know you were a football coach too once, right? Is that correct? I might have read that somewhere. You might be into football. Or am I wrong on that?
That's you got the wrong guy.
I got the wrong guy. Okay. Well, any sport, if there was a random jersey that you would buy, who would it be? And like, what's your rationale for loving that guy?
Oh man, great question. I mean, you were going back to just talking about. I'm trying to think of like old Red Sox players now. I'm not a fan anymore because of the Mookie Betts trade, but my
Maybe El
child.
Guapo, Rich Garces,
Wow, my
or
childhood,
the jelly bean throwing a baseball.
my favorite players, when they were really good. Dustin Pedroia was my favorite player. We share a birthday. He's just like the laser. It's an incredible player.
Mhm.
And Troy O'Leary going
Oh.
further back he was like the
Yeah, that
left
99
2 home run
fielder.
game.
Yeah, I think he was the left fielder when I was like in elementary school. So I adored him as well. Those would probably be my two. I actually probably still do have my Dustin Pedroia shirt. I don't fit in it anymore, but yeah, those would be my two, I think.
Yeah, I just bought my
Yeah, Troy
throwback.
O'Leary, that 99 team, they went to the LCS. That was a fun team.
That was the
A real
Indians,
fun
right?
team.
Lost
Yeah,
to the
that was-
Indians. Yeah.
I just bought my throwback. It's a Reggie Lewis jersey from my childhood. Heart was broken way back when. Last question. So what is your favorite Celtics game of all time? Minus championship clinching games.
Okay. I will say this is an impossible question to answer on the spot. I would say, because I've been thinking about it and I think about it from time to time, the first game that I ever covered was Game 7 of the 2013 Eastern Conference semifinals against the Philadelphia 76ers. That's the Uncut Gems game.
Oh,
Yeah.
that goes back to KG. Yeah.
It was
Okay. Yeah.
it was the
That was a strike shorting year, I think, right?
it was the year after that.
Okay.
It was basically like, was it 12 or was it 13?
I think it was
I
12.
think it was 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm mistaken. Okay, it was 12. But it was like is this the end of the run type of situation? And I remember just the intensity in the arena, and obviously I was super excited to cover it. And I'll never forget, Paul Pierce fouls out with like 5 minutes to go, and it's just looking really grim. And Rondo, of all people, hits 2 threes, like off balance threes, like catch and shoot, like off movement. And he was my favorite player, so I was trying to be as professional as possible in the press box, and I hope I succeeded. But that game was very special for a lot of reasons. And then watching Uncut Gems, I felt like they just like extracted memories from my brain and emotions from my brain and made a movie. And yeah, so that's got to be it, I think.
Man, if Mitch Richmond's in the Hall of Fame, Rajon Rondo needs to get it. That's my argument for Rajon Rondo. He deserves it. People forget how awesome he was. Even the first championship they won with that group, if you go back and watch him against the Lakers, he dominated that series. He was awesome. My favorite Celtics game, guys, real random. My mother took me to my first game. They were playing the Lakers. I was really young. Reason it's my favorite game is because she was cheering for the Lakers when they were coming out because she didn't know which team was from Boston. And then there was nobody at the game because they sucked. And she sucked me down to like close to the front row, and I thought we were going to get arrested. And it was just like so much fun. It was so much fun as a little kid.
That's
going
great.
to the game with it. So
Yeah,
Michael, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I was
sorry,
just going to
Jimmy.
say mine was Celtics game 5, Pacers, Larry Bird's last hurrah, where he hits the parquet floor, comes back, and the place just goes bananas at the old Garden. And I'm showing my age. But Michael, yeah, like Mike was going to say, thanks so much. I know you got to pick up your child at daycare. This was a lot of fun. We appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, thank you guys. This was a pleasure, and I look forward to hopping on next year, and hopefully we'll have more exciting, promising things to talk about.
We
right.
better. Yeah, we better. All right. Thank you.